Hello and welcome to the channel. As always, like the video, and if you enjoyed the story, leave a comment on if you would want more. This fan fiction was not created by me, but in the description there is a link to the fanfic so you can show your support to the creator and read along. Without any more delay, let's dive into the story.
8 years after the Kyubi attack. It was a warm Saturday morning. Flowers were blooming, birds were signing, and the sky was clear. So while he waited for the daily training session with one of her parents, Naruto decided to spend some time on one of his hobbies besides training and eating ramen: gardening. Shizun bought him some new seeds from the Yamanaka flower shop, and he was planting them on his corner of the backyard. Helping him were his two 4-year-old siblings, Hagane and Kaida. Both of them had inherited Jiraiya's spiky white hair and Tsunade's brown eyes, though Hagane usually had a short haircut, while Kaida had it styled into 2 long pigtails. All right, now that you have put the seeds in the holes, you must cover the holes with soil again, Naruto instructed as the twins did so. And then what, Nizan? Kaida asked. Then you come every day and water the seeds. In a few weeks, it will grow a plant with really pretty flowers. Oh, but I wanted to see the flowers now, Kaida complained. Maybe if we water them more, they'll grow faster? Hagane wondered. Nice try, but it doesn't work that way, Okay, wait here, I'm going to get the watering can, Naruto said as he went back to the house. He returned back with a full watering can, and he almost dropped it in shock. What the hell? Naruto was in shock. Besides a smiling Kaida and a surprised Hagane, there was an almost full-grown bush of white roses. Look at this, Nizan. I told the flowers to grow already and they did, the little girl said proudly. Whoa, it's almost like the first Hokage, Naruto shouted, amazed. Who? Both twins asked in unison. The first Hokage, your great-grandpa. He had the power to make plants grow super fast, but none of his children inherit that power. Maybe you did. Really? That's so cool. I'm going to grow more flowers then. Maybe I have that power too, Hagane wondered as he tried to emulate his sister. I have to tell Mom and Dad, Naruto excitedly stated as he rushed back inside. Dad, get over here. You're not going to believe this. Naruto pretty much ignored the Sannin's protests as he dragged them, followed by Shizun, to the backyard, where the twins were trying to make more plants to grow. Naruto, please. I can walk on my own, Tsunade protested. What's so important that got you so riled up? Jiraiya asked. Look at that, Naruto pointed out towards the white rose bush. Those are some nice roses, but I don't think they're impressive enough to be worth getting dragged here, Tsunade deadpanned. I don't mean that. I planted those roses 5 minutes ago, and Kaida made them grow. You mean that she has power over plants? Like the first Hokage? Jiraiya asked. Exactly, Naruto exclaimed. Come on sis, show them. Kaida nodded and tried to make another white rose to grow. Come on, grow. Grew. Kaida piped as she motioned her arms at the ground, without any visible effects. Oh come on, it worked just now. Jiraiya shook his head. Come on Naruto, the kids pranked you. While I admit that that bush wasn't there yesterday, there's no way they have the power of the wood release. No, I have the power, and I'll show it to you. Grow, Kaida ordered, her face turning red as she tried to channel the power she thought she had. Come on sis, I know you can do it, Hagane encouraged as he patted her on the back. The moment Hagane touched Kaida, something inside her changed. She felt an overwhelming force coming from within, and almost unwittingly, channeled said force outside through her extended arms. Another white rose bush emerged from the ground, except this one grew to be twice as big and lush as the first one. Tsunade's necklace shined with such an intense glow it was comparable to the sun. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizun's jaws dropped, and their eyes opened so wide they appeared to pop out of their socket. They remained in a state of stupor until Naruto snapped out of them. I can't believe it, Tsunade babbled, almost in a whisper. Tsunade-sama. This is… Shizune stuttered. Jiraiya was also shocked, but then he smiled wide. Haha. Did you see that? My genes are so good. They awakened a long-lost bloodline limit. Jiraiya, Tsunade whispered, ignoring the Toad Sage's remark. When Hagain touched Kaida, you felt something, didn't you? Yes, something similar to nature chakra, Jiraiya replied. Kaida, when Hagain touched you, what did you feel? I felt being full of energy, and so strong, like I've been sleeping for a whole week. It felt amazing, the little girl said. Hagain, honey, give me your hand, Tsunade instructed as she crouched in front of her younger son. Hagain did so, and Tsunade's necklace glowed once more. None of the presents were sensors, but they could felt Tsunade's chakra dramatically increasing all of a sudden, manifesting in the form of a blue aura flaring around her. Jiraiya also noticed the bit of nature chakra there. The effect vanished once they stopped holding hands. Tsunade stood up, with a dazzling look on her face. When Hagain touched me, I felt my chakra reserves growing so much, I thought I wouldn't be able to hold them. This is incredible. Wait a minute, we all touched Hagain many times before. Why he didn't have this effect until now? Shizune asked. I don't know. Maybe it was dormant until something triggered it? Jiraiya guessed. Like what? Like Kaida making those plants grow? Naruto asked. I mean, you told me about twins having some sort of invisible special connection. What if Hagain couldn't awake this power until Kaida awakened hers? It's a possibility, Jiraiya conceded. By the way, Tsunade, I think that this might be the reason as for why your necklace glows so much when it's near either of them. It is possible that the first chakra of the necklace somehow influenced them since the moment they were… conceived? Shizune asked. That's an interesting theory, but we'll have to wait to see if it's true or not. I'm going to check the twins now to see the extent of their abilities. As for the time being, I don't want anybody else to learn about this, understood? What? But Kaida just developed a bloodline limit which was thought to be lost. And Hagain has some freaky power too. We have to tell the Hokage at least. Naruto protested. Shizune stepped in. Naruto-kun, keep in mind that the power of the first Hokage has been sought by many people. If there was a rumor that Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama's kids had manifested that power, then they would be in great danger. Do you understand that? Yes, Shizune-chan. I didn't think of that, Naruto admitted, as he rubbed the back of his head. Which means that you two shouldn't use those powers out of this house, and only with an adult present, understood? Tsunade said to the twins. Kaida went to protest. But dash. Nobu, Keda. Tsunade's tone did not leave room for replies. All right, Mom. The white-haired girl conceded in defeat. You two, come with me for a medical check. Jiraiya, why don't you take Naruto out for some training? Training Ground 3. While Tsunade inspected the twins, Jiraiya tooled Naruto to their usual training spot. All right, Naruto, let's review your ninjutsu repertoire. First use the clone jutsu, Jiraiya instructed. Naruto nodded, made the necessary hand seals, and channeled his chakra. Clone jutsu, Naruto shouted, and 4 perfect copies of himself appeared at both sides. Yay! All right, that jutsu gave you some trouble, but it seems that your chakra control is getting better, Jiraiya mentioned. Now, transformation. Dispelling the clones, Naruto nodded again and turned into Shizune. Jiraiya gave a nod of approval, and Naruto returned to normal. And lastly, the body replacement. Naruto made the hand seals, this time much faster, and disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving a large rock in his place. Naruto then appeared behind Jiraiya. Excellent, Jiraiya approved, turning around, already aware of his godson being there. Those are the 3 academy ninjutsu you need to master if you want to graduate. As you can see, piece of cake when you have such an awesome teacher as me. Wait, Does that mean that I can graduate already? Naruto said in realization, starry-eyed. I said that those 3 jutsus are necessary to pass, not the only thing you need. But yeah, I'm sure that you'd be good to graduate in 2 years. Yay! Take that, Sasuke. I'm going to graduate 2 years before you. Whoa there, don't get yourself carried away. You're not going to skip any academy year. What? But why? If I already know what they teach at the academy, going there is a waste of time. You have a point, but I'm not teaching you everything the academy does. Stuff like maths, physics, biology, and geography might not seem useful for a ninja at first, but they are. That's why the academy is still important. If that wasn't the case, I wouldn't bother sending you there. Besides, I'm going to have a talk with the Hokage and see if he can do something about making the academy curriculum a bit more challenging. I mean, a ninja needs more than the 3 basic E-rank jutsus to do their job. They don't even teach tree walking. Besides, I want to teach you other abilities that will take some time. And that would be sealing jutsus, some more advanced ninjutsu, being able to dispel genjutsus, and if possible, control of the Nine Tails chakra. It's my goal to make sure you gain some level of mastery over those abilities before you graduate. I see. No matter what you decide to throw at me or how hard the academy gets, I'll pass with flying colors, Naruto claimed, pumping his fist. Boy, that inner fire is something every teacher wants to see in his students. Jiraiya smiled. All right, kid. Now that you showed me what you're capable of, I think that I can fulfill your request. Yes, elemental ninjutsu. Last week, Sasuke, who for some reason had become incredibly cranky since the previous year, showed everybody that he had learned the great fireball jutsu. Even if he was far from completely mastering it, Naruto had to admit that it was pretty cool. From that day onwards, Naruto begged her parents to teach him elemental ninjutsu, and now the gap between him and Sasuke would close once more. Jiraiya then produced a small light brown rectangular paper. This is a litmus paper. It is used to determine your elemental affinity. You channel chakra into the paper, and based on how it reacts, you can determine your affinity. For example, Jiraiya did as he explained, and the paper started to burn. My affinity is fire, so the paper burns when it's in contact with my chakra. Fire is the most common affinity on this land, hence its name. Now dash. Gimme, gimme. Naruto hastily took another litmus paper from Jiraiya's hands. He channeled his chakra and the paper split in 2. Ah, damn it. Give me another. I think broke this one. Calm down, Naruto. The paper didn't break. If the paper cuts in 2, then it means you have an affinity for wind, which is the least common affinity of all nations, even in the land of wind. Awesome. I have a rare affinity. Unlike Sasuke, who has fire like everybody else. Naruto cheered. Then he realized that Jiraiya also had a fire affinity. Air. Sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to dash. It's okay. But don't get all excited. Having a rare affinity does have its downsides. Really? Like what? Since there are so few people with wind affinity, that means less people who can teach you, and less people creating new jutsus. I believe that there's only another wind user in Konoha, one of the sons of Sarutobi-sensei. I think I could get him to teach you some of the advanced stuff. But for the time being, let's stick to something simple. Jiraiya walked to a tree and plucked a leaf from one of its branches. He then handed that leaf to Naruto. I want you to use your chakra to cut that leaf in 2, just like you did with the paper. What? Why? Naruto asked, puzzled. Jiraiya sighed. Your mother and I told you this a million times. Before learning the cool stuff, as you so eloquently put it, you need to learn the basics first. And this exercise will help you mold wind chakra. What? Did you expect that I was going to teach you how to produce a tornado or something like that? Well, yes. I mean, Sasuke can create fireballs, and I need something to counter that if I am to beat him. Actually, that wouldn't be a good idea. And why not? Because elemental chakra is like rock, paper, scissors. Just like how rock beats scissors but gets beaten by paper, some elements are weak against some and strong against others. In your case, wind is strong against lightning but weak against fire. If you try to counter Sasuke's fire jutsus with wind jutsus, you will only make his attack stronger. Wawa Arit? Then I'm never going to beat him, Naruto whined, depressed, as he fell on his knees. Don't say that. You can learn water jutsus as well if you want. But you said that my affinity is wind. Yes, but that means that wind jutsus will be more powerful, consume less chakra, and will be easier to learn. You can learn jutsus from all 5 basic elements. Think of it as the use of your arms. Your right arm is the dominant one, but that doesn't mean that you can use your left arm as well, but you use the right one more because you have more dexterity. Then teach me water jutsus instead. No, you have to learn jutsus of your elemental affinity first. Once you have that down, you can master the element that counters the element you're weak against. For example, after mastering fire, I learned earth jutsus, since earth beats water, which beats fire. I see. Man, this is far more complicated than I thought, Naruto realized, rubbing the back of his head. Of course it is. Why do you think I don't want you to graduate too early? I want you to be properly prepared once you go out there to fight the bad guys. By the way, you have fire, but what affinity do Mom and Shizunichin have? Your mother has lightning and Shizun has water. And since Kaida has wood release, which is a combination of earth and water, those elements are her affinity. What? It is possible to have more than one affinity. Yes, but outside bloodline limits, they're extremely rare, even more than people with wind affinity. Now come on. I won't teach you any new jutsu unless I see you cutting that leaf with your chakra. The key is to try to compress your chakra into a blade as fine as possible. Right, Naruto said, as he fixed his stare on the leaf on his hands and channeled his chakra. Meanwhile, in the forests of Konoha's outskirts, 2 figures were having a talk, covered by the tree's lush foliage. Both of them were teenagers with dull black hair and black eyes, wearing headbands of Konohagakure. One of them was also wearing the symbol of the Uchiha clan on the back of his t-shirt. So, how things are going, Shursui? The first figure asked. It was as you feared, Itachi. It was way beyond a rumor. The Uchiha are indeed planning to stage a coup. I don't know when, but it will be soon. Very soon, Shursui grimly noted. Itachi cursed inwards. Our time is running out. What about that investigation that Jiraiya-sama is conducting? Even if the true culprit of the Nine Tails attack was found, it is too late. The damage was done the moment Danzo put the Uchiha clan under surveillance. I'm afraid that there's nothing stopping the coup. If such things happen, it will be an open invitation for the other villages to declare a war on us. What can we do? I already have a plan. There's a meeting tonight of all the Uchiha members at the Naka Shrine. I believe that Fugaka-sama will make the coup official and reveal what he has planned. What he doesn't know, however, is that I will be there and I will use my Kodoame Tsukumi on him and make him convince the clan to rebuild the burned bridges with the village. I already have the third's approval, Shursui explained. Do you think it will work? If you're caught, you will die on the spot. I know it will. Besides, I can't die yet, not without convincing Shizun-san on going on a date with me first, Shursui added, chuckling. Itachi returned the smile. I believe you'll need to use your Kodoame Tsukumi on her for that to happen. Itachi's face became serious again. But take care. Once you're done, meet me at my apartment and we'll discuss what to do next. Yes, see you this night, Itachi, Shursui said before disappearing. Good luck, Shursui. Let's hope everything goes right. Little did the 2 rogue Uchihas knew that a third Sharingan wielder, hidden in the shadows, had listened their entire conversation. Shortly after finishing his training session with Naruto, Jiraiya was confronted by an ANBU who told him that the Hokage requested his presence for an urgent mission. In no time, he arrived at the Hokage's tower and entered Sarutobi's office through one of the windows. Jiraiya, is the door too much of a hassle to you? Sarutobi asked in a deadpan tone. Sorry, sensei, But you said that it was urgent, Jiraiya replied as he jumped inside the office. All right, sit down, Sarutobi instructed with a weary sigh. Jiraiya, there is no need for you to continue your investigation of the Kyubi attack. Jiraiya was taken aback by such words. What? Why? I'm afraid that it won't do any good now. According to my sources, the Uchiha clan has been planning a coup d'etat for the past couple years. They will stage it sometime during this week. Jiraiya couldn't believe what he was hearing. And why are we still here, doing nothing? We have to stop that from happening. I already have a plan in motion, Jiraiya. Don't worry. The coup won't come to pass. I made sure of it. Jiraiya wasn't convinced, but decided to pressure the issue. I see. The ANBU who contacted me said you had a mission for me. Correct. You see, from the past few months onwards, the demand of A-rank and S-rank missions had increased dramatically. I fail to see how that's a bad thing. More income for the village. Yes, but I believe that there's something more to this. This amount of high-ranked missions is unseen in times of peace. An S-rank mission means an S-rank threat. If there are so many S-rank missions requests, well, you do the math. And some of the mission requesters mentioned men in black cloaks with red clouds on them. Akatsuki. Exactly. They began their move already, whatever it is. Your mission will be to find out what they're trying to accomplish with this. Are you afraid that they're doing this in order to bring our best ninja out of the village walls, so they can be killed off one by one with ease? It is one of the possibilities, yes, but not the only one. All right, I'll meet some of my spies and see what they have. You'll receive a report from me shortly, Jiraiya said as he disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Sarutobi knew that he didn't convince Jiraiya about the coup being already over. Truth be told, he wasn't convinced either, but he had to trust Shursui. He had seen his abilities in action, and he knew that he could pull it off. Still, the old Hokage couldn't shake off the feeling that this was the last time he would see the Toad Sannin. Took him 2 hours and an inordinate amount of effort, but Naruto had finally cut the goddamned leaf. When Naruto asked Jiraiya if he was ready now to learn wind jutsus, Jiraiya pretty much laughed in his face and told him that in order to be ready, he'll have to cut that leaf in less than 10 seconds. At this rate, he was never going to surpass Sasuke. Still, Naruto knew perfectly what would get his mood up. Some ramen with his best friend. Now, if a random kid barged into the Hyuga compound, he would be swiftly kicked out by the branch house members that guarded its gates. And if Naruto tried to do that a couple years ago, they wouldn't even let him to get close to the place. But when your mother has saved the wife of the clan head from a certain death, well, let's say that the Hyugas start to show you some respect. Good afternoon, Naruto-san. Coming to see Hinata-sama? Greeted a branch house Hyuga who was guarding the gates. The Hyuga had shoulder length, spiky brown hair with 2 long bangs framing either side of his face. It would be easy to mistake him for a woman. Hello to you too, Takuma. Yeah, you nailed it. I just came from a hard training session, and I was heading for Ikaraku's and wondered if Hinata could join me. Hinata-sama is currently training with Hayashi-sama as well, though I believe they'll finish soon. You can go and see her train while you wait if you wish. Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Takuma, Naruto said as he entered the compound. After asking for directions, he often got lost in the large compound. Naruto finally arrived at the main dojo where he saw Hinata, dressed in a dark blue long-sleeved shirt and knee-long dark blue pants sparring against another Hyuga, a male or so he thought. After meeting Yashimaru he wasn't so sure anymore, who appeared to be both older and way more skilled than her. Naruto's presence was acknowledged by the other Hyuga present with a silent nod. One of them, a woman with long dark purple hair, signaled him to sit next to her. Naruto complied. Good afternoon, Hikari-san, Naruto greeted as he sat beside the woman. Welcome to our home, Naruto-kun. Did you come here to see my daughter? Hikari asked. Yeah. I wanted to ask her if she would want to go with me to Ikaraku's and grab some ramen, but I see she's busy now. She's close to finish her daily training. I'm sure she'd love to eat with you. Hinata lost her focus the moment Naruto entered the dojo, blushing the moment she saw the blonde smiling at her. This moment of distraction left her wide open for her opponent to knock her down with a swift palm strike. Don't get distracted. In a real fight, if you get distracted, you die. Come on. Stand up and come at Niji again. Hayashi chided in a reprimanding tone. Why yes, father. Hinata bumbled as she stood up and dashed at her adversary again. They traded blows once again. Except this time Hayashi noticed that she was more focused and her attacks were far more aggressive. As if suddenly this spar became a death match with her life on the line. Yet the only thing that changed was that Naruto had entered the room. Did that kid have some effect on her daughter? Meanwhile, Naruto continued watching Hinata spar. Wow, that kid fights pretty hard. Naruto commented to no one in particular. Indeed, Nijikuin has quite some talent. Some believe that in a few years he will become the strongest Hyuga alive, surpassing even my husband, Hikari whispered to him. But don't tell him I said that. He has quite the ego already. By the way, is Niji a guy? Hikari chuckled. Yes, he is. Does he look like a girl? Well, it's that I met some guys who look like women, and many of them were Hyugas. Well, yes, many Hyugas have rather feminine looks. Not every Hyuga can have the luck to have my Hayashi's handsome manly features. There was a collective gasp when Hinata managed to land a hit on the Hyuga prodigy. Way to go, Hinata! Kick his ass! Naruto cheered in a whisper. He remembered the first time the loudly cheered her, and was reprimanded by the rest of Hyuga for almost half an hour for his noisy behavior. I think I'll bring you here whenever Hinata-chan has to train. She fights with far more spunk whenever you're present, Hikari observed, smiling at Naruto. Well, obviously. I also fight better when I have my friends cheering me, Naruto replied. After a few more minutes, Hayashi decided that the spar was over. Hikari silently signaled Naruto that it was okay to speak with Hinata if he wanted to. Hey Hinata, way to go! Naruto cheered as he ran towards his best friend. The Hyuga heiress blushed once again. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Say, I was going to Ikaraku's to have some ramen. Wanna join me? Hinata didn't reply and merely looked at her father. Hayashi pondered for a few seconds before revealing his answer. Yes. But your mother will go with you, Hayashi stated in a neutral, but commanding tone. Come on, Hayashi. What's the worst it could dash? Hikari tried to protest. Hikari, I'm not going to leave our 8-year-old daughter alone with a boy. Hayashi almost spat the last word. If only he knew all the times Naruto and Hinata had been alone since they met. So either you or another adult goes with her or she can't go. All right, as you wish, dear. Hikari rolled her eyes. Naruto-kun. Wait a minute before Hinata-chan gets a quick shower and gets dressed. Half an hour later, the two Hyuga girls and the Uzumaki boy were at the latter's favorite food place. All right, 2 chicken ramen bowls for the ladies and 5 miso ramen bowls for our favorite customer, Ikaraku announced as he placed the orders on the counter. Enjoy the food. We will. Naruto happily replied as he started wolfing down the food. Hikari watched him with curious eyes. Kid, how can you eat so much and not have an ounce of fat in your body? The Hyuga woman asked. Because I burn all of it training a lot. I need to if I'm to become Hokage, Naruto proudly proclaimed as he finished his first bowl and went to the second. Especially now that I'm learning elemental ninjutsu. Really? That's amazing, Naruto-kun. Because that kind of Jaijutsus are pretty advanced. Hinata noted as she slowly ate her ramen. Indeed. They're usually taught to chunin, and the average age of becoming a chunin is 15 to 16. You're half that age and not even an academy graduate, Hikari observed. Yeah, that's how awesome I am, Naruto claimed with a foxy grin as he emptied his third bowl. Hey, what about you, Hikari-san? What is your element? Actually, the Hyuga clan does not use traditional ninjutsu, just our own martial art, the gentle fist. But I believe my affinity is water. I don't know what affinity is Hinata's. Well, we might find it soon, since Dad said it's going to talk with the Hokage, so they teach elemental ninjutsu at the academy, Naruto claimed. The academy? Isn't that a bit too soon? I mean, not all the kids have the luck of having a clan or being trained by two Sannin Naruto-kun, Hikari asked. I dunno, my dad said that the standards of the academy decayed a lot since the days he and Mom were genin. By the way, did you know that they graduated when they were just 6? They're living legends. It's something to be expected. Mother. Hinata spoke up. Didu, why you think I could learn elemental and ninjutsu? Hikari shot her daughter an odd look. Why would you want to do such a thing? It's that I'm not that good with the gentle fist, so maybe if I could have something else to rely on. I don't see why not. While we don't use traditional ninjutsu, it isn't banned or anything, Hikari shrugged. Then she turned more serious. Though I don't want you to neglect your gentle fist training. Your father and I still expect you to master it to some degree. You can learn any other kind of ninjutsu to supplement your skill repertoire if you wish, but none of them are to be treated as the replacement of the gentle fist. Understood? Why, yes, mother. Hikari smiled. Good then. Though then again I believe that maybe traditional ninjutsu will give you less trouble, since you have such a good chakra control for somebody of your age. Hey, if that's the case, maybe she could also learn medical ninjutsu. Mom says that it requires a precise chakra control, Naruto commented. You now want to add medical ninjutsu as well? I think Hinata will have enough with elemental ninjutsu and the gentle fist, Naruto-kun, Hikari replied. Though given her history, Hikari couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for medical ninjutsu. Well, my parents say that a great ninja is a master of multiple skills. That's why besides taijutsu and ninjutsu, I'm also going to learn sealing jutsus as well. And I heard Dad talking about something called senjutsu, which I don't know what it is. All you need is the will to do it. It's good to see that despite being so young, you're thinking so much about your future, Naruto-kun. That kind of hindsight is rare in kids your age. Besides, I also heard Mom saying that she wanted to convince an Hyuga to become a medical nin, since he said something about the Byakugan being a good medical tool or something. You have a point in there, but in the end, it all depends on what Hinata wants to do, Hikari noted, looking as he daughter. As for now, I think I'll like to try elemental ninjutsu F first, and to then maybe a medical ninjutsu as well, Hinata said. Alright, can Hinata come to train with Dad and me one of these days? Naruto asked to Hikari. I don't see why not. She can go once she finishes her daily gentle fist practice. Yay! You'll see, Hinata. You'll become a mistress of the elements in no time. That evening, at the Naka Shrine, almost the entire Uchiha clan was gathering there. Only 3 members were missing. The disowned Uchiha, Itachi, his little brother, Sasuke, which was happily asleep on his bed, unaware of the nightmarish turn of events that were about to come, and Shursui Uchiha. There were many crates scattered around the place. Some of them were opened, revealing its contents. Some of them had ninja tools such as kunai and shuriken. Others had flak jackets, similar to the ones worn by Chunin, except that this were black instead of green, and had the Uchiha fan on its back instead of the Yuzushigokure red swirl. Another crate had 4 head protectors, only with the Uchiha fan instead of the Konoha symbol. Fugaku Uchiha, the clan head, was on top of a couple crates that served as a makeshift podium. The Uchiha stopped chatting among themselves and paid attention to what their leader was about to say. My brethren, it's a pleasure to see all of you gathered here, in this sacred place. Since time immemorial, the Uchiha has been one of the most powerful clans of the entire elemental nations. An unstoppable force matched by very few clans. Our power, however, wasn't without a price, and said price being doomed to a life of constant battle. That's why our ancestor, Madara Uchiha, chose to join the Senju clan and founded this village. That granted us peace. But said peace, like our power, came with a price. Since we became part of this village, the Uchiha had always been second-rate citizens, forced to live isolated from the rest of the village, barred from attaining positions with any real power. But as dutiful and loyal ninja, we endured. But being accused of being behind the Nine-Tails attack, that was the last straw, Fugaku yelled. He was replied by multiple Uchiha shouting back in agreement. Allying with the Senju was a mistake Madara realized, and so did we much later. But except death, there's no mistake that can't be rectified, and that's what we will be doing soon. We will take back what is ours. We will take back Konoha. The rest of the clans will bow before our might. Fugaku's words were met with more shouts, louder and with more enthusiasm than the first ones. You must be thinking that this is a suicidal endeavor. And in most circumstances, it would be. But tonight, we have a golden chance that we can't afford to pass. Somebody contacted me a couple years ago and offered me the means to take this village for the clan. Said person has vast resources that he had put at our disposal. Among them, he created a climate of chaos and instability across the land of fire, forcing the Hokage to dispatch most of his strongest jonin to keep the peace. Which means that there are almost no elite ninja protecting Konoha. Between that and the reinforcements my ally will provide me, in 2 days Konoha will be under our control. Again, more shouts and cheers. However, not everybody was convinced. Fugaku-sama, who is this ally you keep talking about? Asked an Uchiha. Yeah, is he or she the leader of another village? That's where the reinforcements come from, another Uchiha asked. I believe I can answer that question, a booming, disembodied voice said. All the Uchihas looked around in surprise. Some even activated their Sharingan to see where this mysterious voice came from. Besides Fugaku, a semi-transparent, swirling vortex appeared, and from said vortex emerged a figure. A man wearing a black hooded cloak with red clouds over a set of armor. His face was hidden by an orange mask with black flames on it, as well as a single hole on the right side, revealing a red eye. My brethren, this is the ally I've been talking about. Why don't you introduce yourself? Fugaku asked to the mysterious newcomer. Of course, said the masked man. My name is Madara Uchiha, and I came back to help you reclaim what is rightfully yours. It was the end of another nice, quiet, and uneventful day at Konoha. The sun was starting to set, and its inhabitants got prepared for their usual evening activities. At the Hokage's tower, Hiruzen Sarutobi had just finished with the daily paperwork and was now relaxing by reading a novel on one of the tower's living rooms. Shikaka Nara, Inoichi Yamanaka, and Chozo Akimichi were on their favorite tavern, sharing a few drinks, reminiscing about the old days, bitching about their wives, and boasting about their children. Anko Mitarashi was at her favorite spot, Dangoya, having some sake and stuffing her mouth with her favorite food. Irika and Mizuki were also hanging out at a bar, with the latter trying and failing to flirt with the kunoichi there, and Irika trying to remind Mizuki in vain that he was going to marry in a few weeks. Karina Yuhi was at her house, doing her laundry. Yugao Yuzuki and Heiei Gecko were on a date to celebrate the first-year anniversary of their relationship. In the Hyuga compound, Hayashi Hyuga was revising some of the clan's paperwork regarding the clan's expenditures for the past month, while his wife played with their daughters. Meanwhile, Hizashi and Niji finished some late afternoon training at the boys' request. On a one-room apartment near the walls, Itachi looked through the window at the village, wondering why he didn't hear any news from his friend and cousin Shursui yet, and prayed for his safety. At the Senju residence, Tsunade was in the living room teaching Higane and Kaida how to play poker, while Shizune and Naruto were in the kitchen about to prepare dinner, while Shizune told Naruto that if he got ramen for breakfast and later for lunch, he wasn't going to have ramen for dinner. The Uchiha compound, however, was completely empty, except for one person, Sasuke Uchiha, who was fast asleep in his bed after having a rather brutal training session with his father. Little did he knew that Fugaku wanted Sasuke to be asleep as soon as possible to keep him away from what was about to happen. At the west gate of the Konoha, two Chunin were finishing their shift. One of them was big, had spiky brown hair and a broad nose. The other was a skinny man who wore an eye patch over his left eye and a bandana over his head. The sun is setting down, so I believe it's time to close the doors, right, Becco? The skinny one said. I guess so, thought our replacements didn't come yet, I wanna, the man named Becco replied. Oh, who cares? It's not our business if they're late. Come on, let's close the gates and go to have some drinks. My throat is dry, Becco said as he walked towards the gates, but heard no response from his partner. I wanna. The big-nosed Chunin turned around to see his eye patch-wearing partner flat on his back. Lifeless. What the hell? I'm sorry, but the gates are to remain open for the rest of the night, a chilling voice said behind Becco. Becco turned around, and when he did so, the man behind him slashed his throat open. The last thing the Chunin saw before expiring were a pair of red eyes, staring into his very soul. West Gate, secured. Send the signal, the Uchiha Chunin said to his partner. The other Uchiha nodded, and formed several hand seals, and cast a great fireball into the sky. A few minutes later, hundreds of criminals, mercenaries and low-level missing nin that were hiding among the forests of the outskirts of Konoha left their hiding place and rushed into the unsuspecting village. It took no time for the Konoha ninja to find themselves overwhelmed while dealing with this wave of enemies that came seemingly out of nowhere. Meanwhile, on a secret route underground, Danzo walked through a hallway while being flanked by his two most loyal bodyguards, Fu Yamanaka and Toryun Aburame. Everything has been prepared for the surgery, Danzo-sama. The medics are already waiting for you, Fu mentioned. Excellent. What about the seals? Danzo asked. Already prepared as well. It will be applied immediately after the surgery. They will make sure that nobody will be able to remove the Sharingan eye from your eye socket, Toryun replied. Good. Come on, I want to get over with this as soon as possible, Danzo said as he finally reached the door of the operating room. What on earth? Danzo was expecting the two root medic nins to greet him and ask him to lay on the operation table so they could start. Instead, they were lying on the floor, motionless, surrounded by a pool of their own blood. On the operation table was sitting a masked man wearing a black cloak with red clouds on it. On his hand was a jar with a Sharingan eye on it. Oh, hey, what's up? I hope you don't mind, but I really need this eye, so I'm going to confiscate it for the time being, the masked man nonchalantly announced. And if you do mind, well, you'll have to deal with it. That's how life rolls. Fu, Toryun, execute this man and retrieve the eye. Danzo's voice was firm, but not without panic. His two minions unsheathed their tantos and charged at the masked man. I'd love to stay and play with you guys, but I'm kind of busy now. Places to go, people to kill. I'm sure you understand, the masked man said, and disappeared in a swirling vortex before Danzo's bodyguards could reach him. Sound the alarm, he can't be too far, Danzo shouted, now more desperate. Irika and Mizuki were fighting against a pair of nearly identical ninja, wearing gray and dark blue camouflage clothes, rebreathers, Kirigakure forehead protectors, and large-bladed gauntlets on their respective dominant arms. Said gauntlets were linked by a long, spiky metal chain. I think I know this guy's, Kirigakure's demon brothers. They fled their village after a failed attempt of a coup d'etat. It seems that they're trying again here, Irika said. That's nice and all, but how strong they are? Mizuki asked, a bit nervous. The bingo book lists them as B-rank chunin, so they're similar in power to us, Irika mentioned. It says that their specialty are ambushes, but are mediocre in direct combat. Let me show you how wrong that bingo book of yours is it. Come on, Meizu, one of them said as he and his brother charged at the duo of teachers. Mizuki jumped in midair, pulled out his Fuma shuriken, and tossed it against the chain, pinning it to the ground and stopping the brothers' charge. They quickly pressed a button on their gauntlets that detached the chain from them and allowed them to fight individually. Bald gauntlets clashed against kunai and shuriken. While the demon brothers' weapons were indeed dangerous and intimidating, they stopped them from performing hand seals and thus jutsu. They had been working on one-handed seals, but they still had a long way to go until they could use ninjutsu with just one hand. One of the brothers left himself wide open for a second, but that was all what Irika needed. The teacher kicked his opponent, who was pushed against his near-identical brother, while Irika made some hand seals. Demonic illusion. Night cover. The brothers quickly fell prey to Irika's illusion, dropped on their knees, and soon they fell asleep. He then started to tie them with their own chain. Well, so much for this demon brothers, Mizuki said, as he twirled a kunai on his finger. Mizuki, behind you. The white-haired chunin jumped in time to avoid a backstab from an enemy, this time an Uchiha chunin. Irika ran through hand seals. Water release, water gun. Irika shouted before releasing a powerful stream of water out of his mouth that blasted the Uchiha against a nearby wall. Mizuki finished him on by stabbing a kunai on his side. Why the hell the Uchiha are fighting alongside these guys? Shouldn't they be on our side? Mizuki asked, frustrated. It seems that the Uchiha brought them, Irika said with a tinge of sadness. What do you mean by that? I heard some rumors about the ANBU watching the Uchiha clan because they were afraid they were doing some shady stuff. Apparently, this is what they had planned. These guys seem to be their foot soldiers. Great, just great. And why the hell are all the Jonin? Your pal Kakashi would be of great help here. Kakashi had to leave the village the last week due to a long-term mission. I don't know what are the other Jonin doing. Okay, in that case, this is what we are going to do. So far, we don't know how this will end, so we'll find a safe place to hide there. Once the battle is over, we get out and join whoever has won. What? Mizuki, you can't be serious. Are you going to abandon Konoha in its time of need? Irika exclaimed, perplexed. It's the most intelligent solution. What if the Uchiha win? Being Konoha ninja, do you think they'll be nice to us and let us go back to our jobs like nothing happened? And if we side with the Uchiha and they lose, we'll be executed for treason. That's why we have to fight, to make sure that the Uchiha don't win, Irika said, staring angrily at his coworker. Every man counts. No, until things calm down, it's every man for himself, Mizuki replied as he grabbed his Fuma shuriken and tossed it at a disbelieving Irika. The teacher managed to move aside before the giant shuriken would hit him, and stabbed itself on the chest of a bandit who already had a knife raised ready to stab Irika in the back. That was on the house. Don't expect me to save your sorry ass again, Mizuki harshly stated as he retrieved his main weapon from the corpse. Now, be smart once in your life and find a hiding place. With that, Mizuki leaped out of Irika's sight. Irika sighed, and decided that the best course of action would be to find other more alone ninja to watch each other's back. Meanwhile, on his apartment, unaware of all the chaos unfolding on the village, Itachi was washing the dishes after having a light meal for dinner. He had planned to meditate for half an hour and go to bed early. The Hokage had already assigned him another A-rank mission for the next day. Things weren't going too bad for the Uchiha outcast. He still had a rather big debt with the bank, but he was saving up a rather large amount of money that allowed him to cover for basic needs, to pay rent and the bank each month, and still have some money that he decided to save for future emergencies. Though maybe he could use some of that money to decorate his apartment a bit more. One of the reasons he didn't allow Sasuke to visit him yet was because he thought Sasuke wouldn't be comfortable on such gloomy place. He was snapped from his train of thoughts when somebody loudly knocked the door. "Coming," Itachi said, as he dried his hands on a rug. The person at the other side continued pounding the door as if he or she was trying to take it down. Not that it would take much effort, but Itachi preferred the door of his apartment to be intact. "I said I'm coming. Where is the fire?" Itachi asked as he opened the door. He gasped in shock when he saw a badly beaten Shisui, covered in bruises and cuts, as well as missing his left eye. "To answer your question, all around Konoha," Shisui said before collapsing. "Shisui." Half an hour later, the weakened Shisui was lying on Itachi's bed. Itachi was no medic nin, but he did have some first aid training as well as a medkit, so he could patch all of Shisui's wounds, including the one from his eye, without much trouble. Fortunately for both, none of Shisui's wounds were too grave, ignoring the missing eye. That's it. "I patched you up as best as I could, but I think it's enough. I think you may have some broken ribs and maybe a fractured arm, so it would be best if you don't move. Now tell me what is going on, and what happened to you." Shisui sighed. "Danzo, that bastard. That's what happened." Noticing Itachi's confusion, the one-eyed Uchiha decided to elaborate. "I was on my way to the Naka shrine when I was told that Danzo wanted to speak with me. He deemed me a threat, claiming that I wanted to use the Kotoame Tsukumi on him and the Hokage, and tried to remove my eyes. At least I managed to keep one eye before I lost his goons. And that's not even the worst of it." While Itachi remained stoic on the outside, on the inside he was livid. Danzo would definitely pay for such treachery. He would make sure of it.
The coup d'état.
"It's happening as we speak," Shisui announced, and saw how Itachi lost all the color of his skin. "In fact, I have been attacked by Konoha ninja on my way here. And before you ask, yes, I managed to lose them before I got here. This happened because of me," Itachi thought. "I chose the easy way out instead of staying and trying to make things better. I shouldn't have listened to Shizen-san. Shizen-san is not to blame. She wasn't aware of the context of my situation when she offered her advice. I'm the only one to blame, and thus, I'm the only one who has to, and can, fix this mistake." "Itachi?" Shisui asked, yanking the younger Uchiha out of his thoughts. "What are we going to do?" "We?" "Yes, we. Did you expect that I was going to stay here while our clan burns Konoha to the ground?" "No, there is no we, Shisui. You're going to stay here and rest. I'll take care of everything." Itachi opened his closet and started to get dressed with his ninja gear. "You can't leave me here. Danzo still wants my Sharingan, and I'm in no condition to defend myself. Come on, at least take my eye." Itachi's hand quickly grabbed Shisui's before he could pluck his remaining eye from its socket. "That eye is okay where it is now. I will be fine and so will you. Now lie down and rest, or else your wounds will open." "You can't be serious. Are you planning to go there alone? You have no friends or allies out there. The Konoha ninja will try to kill you the moment they see your Sharingan. That won't be an obstacle. I promise that nobody will die needlessly, especially not me," Itachi assured as he put on his Chunin flak jacket. "I'll place a multi-layered genjutsu on this place in case somebody gets lucky and track you here. If you're not on this bed when I return and you haven't been killed or taken prisoner by the enemy, I will kill you myself." "You can't be serious." I will toss you down a cliff. How does that sound? Meh. There are far worse ways to die. Well, that's all, I'm leaving. But don't worry, I'll send somebody I trust to watch over you. I don't know when I'll be back, but if I'm never back, take care of Sasuke for me, Itachi grimly asked. You don't need to tell me that, but just in case, try to come back alive. I have no idea of what to do with children. Itachi chuckled at Shursui one last time and left through a window. Hayashi Hyuga was having dinner with his wife and daughters. It was a moment he enjoyed the most, since it was one of the few rare opportunities where he could spend some time with his whole family, not counting his brother. Sure, he spent a lot of time training his daughters, but contrary to the popular belief, Hayashi Hyuga also enjoyed the rare moments he had to relax. After all, being a clan head was a rather demanding and thankless job. So, how was your first day of training with Uzumaki-san and Jiraiya-sama? Hinata? Hayashi asked without taking his eyes from his dinner. Very good, father, Hinata Sotfly replied. And my affinity is L lightning. Though I have to complete a FU chakra C-control exercises before I learn any new jutsu, Hinata explained. Lightning. Interesting. I heard it's a good element to use in conjunction with bladed weapons. Too bad we don't use those, Hikari casually commented. Maybe I could use lightning W with the gentle fist? Hinata meekly suggested. Combine the gentle fist with elemental ninjutsu? That's unheard of, Hayashi exclaimed. I think it's a rather sound idea. It would give our techniques another layer of power, Hikari sharply replied. Still, Hinata should master the actual gentle first before thinking in doing modifications, Hayashi countered. Suddenly, a branch house Hyuga barged in the dining room, panting. Hiyashi-sama, you need to come with us. It's a disaster. Hayashi tensed and jumped on his feet. What's going on? The Uchiha are leading an insurrection against the village. Hikari gasped in horror. Hinata didn't fully understand what those words mean, but she knew it wasn't anything good. And that's not all. There are dozens of Uchiha outside the compound. They're demanding for you to come out and face them. All right, let's go. Hikari, stay here and take care of the girls. I will see what this nonsense is about. 10 minutes later, Hayashi arrived at the front patio of the compound, where many Hyugas, both main and branch house, were already on a fighting stance, ready to engage the invading Uchiha and their mercenary allies. Among them were his brother Hizashi. I am Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga main house. What is the meaning of this? Hayashi demanded. Just like the branch house member said, there were a multitude of Uchihas present. Among them, a masked man in a black cloak with red clouds stood out. Apparently, he wasn't the leader, as another Uchiha. A tall, well-built man, with a buzz cut, close to Hayashi's age, took a few steps forwards. Hayashi guessed he was a Jonin. Hayashi Hyuga, both you and your entire clan have been deemed as a threat to Konoha. You will have to come with us. If you resist arrest, we will use lethal force. I'm sure both me and my clansmen will come peacefully if you show us an arrest order with the stamp of the Hokage's office and the Hokage's signature, Hayashi replied back. The Hokage no longer rules over Konoha. The military police is the village's highest authority now. Now, tell your clansmen to surrender. This is my last warning, the Uchiha Jonin said. Now you hear my warning, Uchiha. This ground under your feet belongs to the Hyuga clan. If you and your treacherous clansmen aren't out of our property in less than 10 seconds, you will be escorted out of here inside a coffin. I'm going to take that as an hostile response. Everybody, attack! Multiple Uchiha flied through hand seals. Others grabbed some shurikens from their tool pouches. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. Fire release, Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu. A barrage of fireballs of multiple sizes and shurikens flied towards the Hyuga, still standing their ground. Though if the Uchiha thought that they could take them down with ranged attacks, they had another thing coming. 8 trigrams, vacuum palm wall, shouted many Hyuga as they thrust their palms forward, releasing multiple vacuum blasts that stopped some of the incoming fireballs. 8 trigrams, heavenly spin, other Hyuga shouted while they turned into blue chakra twisters that deflected the remaining fireballs. While the Hyuga were defending, half of the Uchiha and their criminal allies decided to charge forward. Crimson Squad and Blood Squad, stay here and secure the patio. Storm Squad and Tempest Squad, get in the compound and kill everybody who puts up a fight, the Uchiha Jonin ordered. Yes, Nakamura Taicho, multiple Uchiha replied in unison, as half of the Uchiha there abandoned the patio and got into the compound. However, Hayashi had heard those orders as well, and he wasn't going to have any of that. Thanks to his Byakugan, he spotted his brother in no time and leaped at him the moment he stopped the heart of an Uchiha Chunin with a well-placed palm strike. Hizashi, I need you to go inside and protect Hikari and the kids, Hayashi shouted. We're in the middle of a battle right now, and I won't leave your side. It's my duty, the younger twin replied. Your duty is to obey me, and if you need cover, I will provide you some. Now go, Hayashi said as he engaged 2 Uchiha, a Jonin and a Chunin. Shooting one last glance at his elder brother and clan head, Hizashi nodded and rushed back to the complex. Shikaku Nara, Inoichi Yamanaka, Choza Akimichi. You 3 have been declared a threat to the village and will have to come with us. If you resist arrest, we will use lethal force, Makoto Uchiha announced. Shikaku looked around him. Half a dozen Uchihas, led by the wife of the clan head, surrounded both him and his 2 closest friends just after dispatching a bunch of mercenaries that were looting a store. Is this some kind of joke, Makoto-san? Shikaku asked. Because if it is, let me tell you is a very tasteless one. Yeah, you're the police. Shouldn't you be dealing with these rats that are infesting the village all of a sudden? Choza asked. Choza, I believe it was the Uchiha who brought these rats. I didn't see any of these criminal scum attacking any Uchiha, Inoichi commented. Well, what is your answer? Makoto asked. Shikaku sighed dramatically. This is going to be such a drag. Then in an instant his hands formed a seal. Shadow imitation jutsu. Multiple black tendrils shoot from Shikaku's shadow and fly towards the Uchiha, who jumped in time before being caught. While on air, Makoto's hands ran through hand seals as well. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. The Uchiha clan head's wife breathed a huge fireball at the Nara clan head, who was forced to move and cancel his jutsu. Separate them from each other. Not only are they Jonin, their teamwork is downright legendary, Makoto ordered. Yes, Makoto-sama, the other Uchiha replied. They outnumber us 2 to 1. Inoichi, can you do something about that? Shikaku asked. On it, Inoichi said as he formed a hand seal that formed a rectangle of negative space between them. Mind-body disturbance jutsu. The 2 Uchihas that were about to attack him were stopped in his tracks, realizing that they no longer controlled their bodies. Much to their horror, they started to stab each other repeatedly. Good work. Now is my turn, Choza said, making a hand seal. Multi-sized jutsu. Choza's body inflated into a large balloon. Human boulder. Choza crushed the 2 Uchiha still fig-thing each other, while the other 4 managed to avoid the same painful fate. Makoto didn't waste time and pulled out a radio. This is Makoto Uchiha requesting for reinforcements to deal with a trio of Jonin-level insurgents. We're on Matabi Street. Over. Insurgents? We're not the ones trying to take over Konoha. Thank you, Shikaku said as he activated his shadow initiation jutsu again. In no time, a couple Uchiha Chunin leading a group of mercenaries joined the fray. More people? What a drag, Shikaku moaned. Choza, can you take care of the rabble? You can count on that. Multi-sized jutsu. Choza's size increased several times, and used his also enlarged bow staff to wipe the mercenaries and Uchihas as if he was cleaning the floor. Still, it proved to be a harder task than expected, since his foes were quicker than they thought, and his increased size made a perfect target for the Uchiha's fireballs and shurikens. That should keep them busy while Inoichi and I will deal with the red-eyed pests. Watch out who you call pest, Nara, an Uchiha shouted as he leaped at him, which proved to be a mistake, since he put Shikaku in the perfect position of binding him with his shadow. Thanks for your helpful assistance, Uchiha-san. Now die, Shikaku said as he made a hand sign. An arm emerged from the Uchiha's shadow, which reached his neck, and strangled the unlucky Uchiha to death. Meanwhile, Inoichi was about to take control of another Uchiha's body when he felt several chakra signatures getting closer. Shikaku, more enemies incoming, Inoichi warned. Where do they come from? Shikaku said as he tried to nail the remaining enemies with his shadow imitation. 5 o'clock. Watch out for the roofs. Choza, did you hear that? Yes. I see them now, the giant Akimichi said as he moved to intercept them. I'll see if I can take Makoto down. She's the leader of this squad, Inoichi announced, making the same hand seal again, pointing at 2 Uchiha that were fighting Shikaku. Mind-body disturbance jutsu. Once again, those 2 Uchiha stopped in their tracks, stopped attacking Shikaku and lunged at a growling Makoto, who did her best to keep them at bay without killing or hurting them much. Shikaku now. Thanks to the distraction provided by Inoichi, the Nara Patriarch managed to capture Makoto with his shadow. Shadow imitation jutsu, success. Again, Shikaku said with a slight smile, though said smile vanished when he saw that Makoto was also smiling at him. In your dreams, the Uchiha Kunoichi retorted before disappearing in a cloud of smoke, leaving a trash can in her place. Inoichi, track her now, Shikaku frantically barked. The Yamanaka clan head nodded and made a hand sign. He managed to find Makoto in no time, who happened to be just behind him. Inoichi tried to turn around, but not before Makoto stabbed him in the back with a kunai. She then kicked him into the ground and jumped backwards a few meters. Arg! Inoichi instinctively threw his hands at his back, trying to remove the kunai. Inoichi! Shikaku yelled. I'm okay. It's only a superficial cut. The jacket protected me somehow. Try to remove the kunai if you can. Makoto's lips formed a chilling smile. Shikaku paled. Unbeknownst to Inoichi, while the kunai only made a flesh wound on his back, there was an explosive tag attached to the bladed weapon. The Uchiha matriarch made hand sign, which was followed by an explosion, and Inoichi Yamanaka was no more. For a second, time seemed to stop for Shikaku and Choza as they saw their mutual best friend, longtime partner and trusted teammate being blown up. When the dust settled, all that was left was his charred, immobile corpse. This is the fate of those who oppose the new rulers of Konoha. I'll be forgiving and will give you a chance to surrender. If you do not surrender, you will follow the same fate as your friend, Makoto shouted, adopting now a cold, neutral tone. Choza let out a deafening shout and started to stomp wildly around him, in an attempt to crush the nearby enemy ninja, not caring of the buildings he could potentially bring down. Shikaku, on the other hand, only shot at Makoto a chilling, murderous glare, while remained there, immobile. That was a mistake, was all what Shikaku said. Makoto didn't say anything, just frowned, and motioned her hand at him. Multiple Uchiha and mercenaries leaped towards the Nara clan head from multiple directions, weapons raised in air ready to kill him. But Shikaku wouldn't have any of that. Making a quick hand seal, multiple shadow tendrils shot from his shadow, instantly catching his attackers, pinning him in one place. With another hand seal, other shadow tendrils appeared, except that this ones were material, took the shape of spikes, and impaled the paralyzed ninja. The shadows then retreated, and the enemy ninja fell to the ground, motionless. You're next. Shadow Gathering Jutsu. More shadow tendrils shot from Shikaku's shadow, these also being material and flied at Mikoto. While far from her prime, the Uchiha Kunoichi did an admirable effort dodging them so far by constantly running or jumping to the sides. She then leaped into the air and made several hand signs before grabbing some shuriken from her pouch. Fire Release. Flaming Shuriken Barrage. The ninja stars immediately caught on fire the moment Mikoto tossed them. Shikaku gasped, canceled his jutsu, and tried to out of the way, but he was too slow. The burning shuriken pierced his flak jacket and embedded themselves into the Nara's flesh. Another one down, Mikoto cheered, but her cheer was short-lived as Shikaku disappeared in a cloud of smoke. What? A shadow clone? Mikoto tried to look around for the real Shikaku, but then realized that she couldn't move. From the corner of her eyes, she could see that a shadow tendril had caught her shadow. Shikaku jumped down from the nearby roof he was on. A shadow clone. When did you make it? I didn't take my eyes from you this whole time. Mikoto would have stomped his foot on anger if he was able to move. Certainly you didn't. The Sharingan is rather hard to fool. But hard does not equal impossible. To answer your question, I used the explosion that killed Inoichi as a cover. What? But how? The moment I saw that explosive tag, I already knew that Inoichi was dead. All that was left for me to do was to avenge him, and devised a plan in order to make you let your guard down. And now, all that was left is for you to pay. Shadow Neck Binding Jutsu. Mikoto saw a black hand creeping through her body until it reached her neck, and in less than a minute her world turned into darkness. After retrieving Niji, Hizashi found Hikari, Hinata, and Hanabi in the dining room, just where his brother said they would be. After telling them what was going on, he began to lead them to the one of the compound's emergency exits. When Hizashi saw many Hyuga fighting the Uchiha invaders, and in most cases, losing against them, he felt the urge to help them, but felt compelled to ignore them and follow Hayashi's instructions instead. What are we going to do once we get out of here, father? Niji asked. We will try to find some help. Do not fear, Niji. Everything will be fine. Unfortunately for the Hyugas, two Uchihas, a Jonin and a Chunin, blocked their path. All members of Hyuga clan are under arrest. If you resist, we will use lethal force. The Uchiha Jonin echoed his commander's words. Would you dare to hurt children, you monster? Hikari spat at him as she clutched Hanabi in her arms. There's no need to hurt anybody if you come peacefully, the Uchiha Chunin interceded. Hizashi said nothing and sprung to action. Taking advantage of the Chunin momentary lack of focus, he managed to land a palm strike on his chest, knocking him backwards. The Jonin immediately reacted and unsheathed a katana and attempted to slice him. Hizashi bended backwards just in time, and the Uchiha's katana only sliced some of his hair. The Uchiha Chunin managed to get back on his feet and was going through several hand seals. Fire Release. Phoenix Sage Fire Jutsu, he shouted, casting multiple fireballs at Hizashi. Just as fast, Hikari, who no longer had Hanabi on her arms, jumped in front of Hizashi and she started to spin. Heavenly spin, she shouted, turning herself into a spinning dome of chakra, deflecting the fireballs. Don't you dare to ignore me. I may be retired, but I used to be a Jonin. Thank you, Hikari-sama. Let me repay your kind act by finishing this fight. 8 trigrams, 32 palms. Hizashi shouted as he delivered a quick succession of palm strikes at the 2 Uchihas. 2 strikes, 4 strikes, 8 strikes, 16 strikes, 32 strikes. Unable to stop the barrage of gentle fist strikes, the Uchihas fell to the ground, prey of sudden chakra exhaustion. While that attack was nowhere near enough to kill them, or even close all their chakra points, it was enough to put them out of commission long enough for the group of 5 Hyugas to escape the compound safely. Mother, where is father? Isn't he going to come with us? Hinata asked. Your father is fighting the Uchihas who attacked our home. Don't worry, dear, he's strong. He will be fine, Hikari said in a reassuring tone. As they ran away, Hizashi looked at the compound, which had several parts of it on fire, one last time, and wondered if Hayashi could escape alive and meet them again. Back in the patio, the battle had finally died down. The place was littered with corpses, both Uchiha, Missing Nin and Hyuga alike. Only 2 men were standing, Hayashi and Ko-Hyuga. Both of them had some minor injuries and were exhausted, but they could stand on their own. The Hyuga patriarch looked around and had to repress the urge to throw up. The sight of so many dead Hyugas sickened him to the core. Not even fighting in the Third War shook him so much. Hayashi-sama, are you all right? Ko asked as he limped to him. Hayashi tried to regain his composure. Yes, Ko. Come on, let's get inside. I can hear fights still going on. We need to save as many clansmen as possible. Hayashi then heard a sickening noise coming from Ko. Agrk. Ko suddenly grunted, blood coming out of his mouth. He looked down and saw a sword protruding from his chest. Ko fell to the ground, revealing his murderer, the masked man of the black cloak. Yes, Hayashi, go and save your clan. What's left of it, at least? The masked man mocked, as he removed his sword from Ko and kicked his corpse aside. But I don't know how can you do that if you can't save yourself first. Hayashi didn't say anything and slipped into the gentle fist stance. You will pay for that, murderer. We both had the Byakugan activated. How did you manage to ambush Ko like that? Well, I could tell you, but if I did I'd lose one of my main advantages, and that would be pretty detrimental, don't you think? The masked man replied in the same tone as he sheathed his katana. Hayashi tensed when he saw his enemy flying through hand seals. Would release, great spear tree. What? Hayashi was shocked, though his battle instinct compelled him to jump backwards, trying to avoid the emerging sharp tree roots trying to impale him. Through his Byakugan, he saw that more roots were emerging, surrounding him. Heavenly spin. Hayashi turned into a spinning blue dome that shattered the roots the moment they tried to grab him. Not bad, definitely not bad. How about this then? The masked man commented, doing hand seals again. Multiple great fireballs jutsu. The masked man shot a succession of large fireballs at Hayashi. The Hyuga clan head dodged some and blocked others with the vacuum palm, all while he dashed towards his foe, who remained in the same place, making no attempt to moving. Impressive. Guess that you guys don't exaggerate that much when you boast about your power. If you thought that was impressive, wait until you see this. Hayashi slipped into the gentle fist stance again. The battle is over, you're within my divination field. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. The Hyuga clan head lunged at the masked man. 2 strikes, but much to his bewilderment, his hands phased through the masked Uchiha's body harmlessly. 4 strikes. The result was the same. Well, I'm afraid to say that that wasn't very impressive, the masked man said as he let out a yawn. What is this trickery? A genjutsu? Of course, it has to be. There's no way you can use the wood release. A genjutsu, you say? Good guess. But if I'm a genjutsu, try to explain this. Suddenly, at an almost imperceptible speed, The masked man unsheathed his katana again and buried it inside Hayashi's chest. Does this feel like a genjutsu, Hayashi-sama? The masked man pushed his sword deeper. He then pulled his sword out and kicked Hayashi's corpse back into the ground. After cleaning the blood from his weapon on Hayashi's robes, he sheathed his sword again and pulled out a scalpel. Oh my, Hayashi, what a beautiful eyes you have. I hope you don't mind if I borrow them. Then he looked around and noticed all the dead Hyugas around him, many of them who were main house. Oh, what the hell? I'll take all of them. You don't see a chance like this every day. The masked man started to hum a cheery melody as he began to harvest byakugans from the dead Hyugas. Jitensha, 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 Koid, Koid,
Koide kuruyo.
Meanwhile, at the Hokage's tower, Sarutobi was unaware of all the chaos and destruction that was unfolding on the village he ruled. He was happily reading a novel on one of the tower's living rooms when one of the night shift ANBUs barged inside the room. A man who wore the mask of a tiger.
Hokage-sama.
It's a catastrophe, the ANBU shouted, panicked. The Uchiha clan is trying to take over the village. Sarutobi slammed the book shut and turned at the ANBU with a shocked expression. What? When did this happen? We don't know, Hokage-sama, but we believe it was at sunset. They have an army of criminals and mercenaries backing them up. What is the situation now? The Uchihas and their allies have taken over the torture and interrogation headquarters, the Hyuga clan compound, the hospital, the aviary, and some compounds from minor clans. They're currently trying to take the Jonin standby station and the academy. And we spotted an 8-man team led by Fugaku Uchiha himself heading here, probably to take over the tower and assassinate you. Sarutobi was trying his best to process the gravity of the situation. What happened to Shursui Uchiha? Did the other Uchiha see through his ploy? There has to be the only logical explanation. However, there was no time to ponder what had gone wrong, but to remedy the problem at hand. He had to act now to prevent the number of deaths from growing. I want you and all the ANBU of the tower to go and liberate the hospital. That's your number one priority. Then, I want you to protect the civilians from being attacked. I will stay here and will try to make Fugaku-san to see reason. But Hokage-sama, we can't leave you unprotected in a time like this, the ANBU protested. Are you questioning my orders? The old Hokage shouted, making the ANBU to flinch at the unusual display of anger. Of course not, Hokage-sama. I'll tell the others your orders. Good luck, the ANBU said before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Once alone, Sarutobi calmly headed towards his office, grabbed a pencil, a blank scroll, and started writing. Once he was done, he sealed the scroll and making some hand seals, the scroll disappeared in a poof of smoke. Then he lit his pipe and took a puff on it. So, this is how it ends. Why, despite living for so long, I still feel that I haven't done enough? He wondered aloud. As he took another puff on his pipe, he saw a picture of him, his late wife and his 2 sons, who were still teenagers at the time. The old Hokage allowed a smile to appear on his face. On the good side, it seems that we will see each other soon, Bawako-chan. Meanwhile, on the roof of his apartment building, Itachi contemplated the village before him. Buildings on fire shone brightly against the night sky. Screams, shouts, and explosions filled the usually silent night atmosphere. He didn't need to look far in order to see Uchihas, criminals, and mercenaries engaged in a fight against Konoha ninja. The Uchiha outcast bit his thumb and made 5 hand seals. Summoning Jutsu. From a cloud of smoke emerged a large crow, twice as tall as Itachi. The giant bird stared at the former Uchiha with curious eyes. Good evening, Itachi-san. It's nice to see you again. You look distressed. Is there something wrong? Good night to you as well, Kuroke-sama. And yes, there's something going wrong. Very wrong. What I have been fearing has finally happened. The Uchiha are trying to take Konoha by force. The boss crow turned around and saw at the battles that took place at the very bottom of the building he and Itachi were. I see. the crow said in a grave tone. How can I be of assistance? I need you to oversee Konoha from the sky and track all the larger groups of Uchiha. Focus mostly on those who appear to have the upper hand in their fights. Leave the weaker ones for later. Consider it done, Itachi-san. Kurokaze divided himself into a much smaller crows that spread above the village, and one of them placed itself on Itachi's shoulder. I'd appreciate as well if you use 2 of your clones to watch over my friend Shursui Uchiha, who's in my home, and my brother Sasuke, who's probably asleep back in the Uchiha compound, Itachi added. Checking his equipment one more time, Itachi unsheathed his katana and leaped towards the battle at the bottom of the building, cutting an Uchiha down upon landing. Doing so, he already chose a side, and knew that there was no going back on that. Not that he cared, since Itachi considered himself a Konoha ninja first and an Uchiha second, and he would protect the village and his inhabitants at all costs, even if that would mean fighting his family. He needed to stop the coup d'etat as soon as possible, and there was only one thing that would stop the ongoing madness. A massacre. Anko Mitarashi whistled cheerfully as she retrieved her kunai from the corpses of the 2 Kumo missing nin she had just killed. They had boasted about all the atrocious crimes they had committed before, and how they were going to bring down Konoha alongside the Uchihas. But in the end, what the Snake Lady was hoping to be a challenging fight was anything but. Oh well, it was a good warm-up. Once she was done, Anko jumped at the roof of a 1-story building and took a look at the battles that she could see from that vantage point. She cursed upon seeing that none of them involved Uchihas. Since he heard so many people getting all hysteric about the Uchihas revolting, how is that she had never run into at least one yet? Anko always wanted to measure her skills against an Uchiha, and now it was the best chance she got. Besides, if she defeated plenty of those red-eyed freaks, maybe she could secure the promotion she wanted so much. Suddenly, something caught her attention. At one of the edges of the Naka Bridge, a single man with a massive sword was fighting 3 Konoha ninja, who were unable to land a hit on him. They finally gave up and fled, but the man remained in the bridge for some reason. He didn't appear to be an Uchiha, but maybe he would provide a better challenge than those no-name criminals she had been dealing with for the past hour. Jumping through the rooftops, Anko quickly arrived at the bridge and landed in front of the man, who stared at her with indifference. The man was tall, with a muscular build, spiky short black hair, and no eyebrows. The lower half of his face was covered by a mask, similar to Kakashi's. There was a Kirigakure forehead protector on his head, and he was wielding an impossibly big sword. Said man's imposing appearance, combined the amount of killing intent he was projecting, would make most people tremble in terror, but that only made Anko more giddy. Hey there, tall, dark, and handsome. Do you mind if I make you come company? Anko asked with a foxy grin as she walked towards him. Do as you wish, but if you get close to this bridge, you will be dead, the ninja swordsman replied, slamming his word on the ground for a more dramatic effect. Anko, however, didn't flinch. How so? The Uchihas tasked me with protecting this bridge. Nobody with a Konoha forehead protector shall pass. Ah yes, the Uchihas. I've been trying to look for one, but I had no luck. Maybe you and your overcompensating sword can provide me some challenge, Anko said as she dashed at him. The Kiri ninja raised his sword. Let's see if you last longer than the other fools who dared to fight me. Anko tried to strike the Kiri ninja with her kunai, but all her hits were parried by the man's massive sword. She leaped backwards and tossed several kunai at him, but they were also parried. Fortunately, Anko had something that couldn't be parried by normal means. She quickly formed several hand seals. Fire release, Dragon Fire Jutsu. Anko breathed a massive stream of fire shaped like a dragon. An unwise move, the Kiri ninja calmly said as he formed hand seals as well. Water release, Water Dragon Bullet Jutsu. The water from the river started to rise in the shape of a twisting pillar. Said pillar took the form of a dragon, and after letting out a roar, charged forwards. Both elemental dragons clashed against each other, but the water dragon easily overpowered Anko's fire dragon, and the purple-haired kunoichi was hurled against a wall by the massive water construct. Anko groaned, spitting water while trying to stand up. Much to her horror, she saw the swordsman already in mid-air, ready to cut her down with that massive sword. Die, the masked swordsman stated, and his sword came down. Fortunately for Anko, the gigantic sword didn't hit her, but another kunai instead, being held by a black-haired kunoichi. Taking advantage of the Kiri ninja's sudden surprise, the kunoichi managed to kick him back, while she landed on her feet besides Anko. Anko, are you all right? Yeah, thanks Kurinai, Anko said as she got back on her feet. Thanks Kami, you recognized me. I have lost count of all the times I have been attacked by Konoha ninjas that mistook me for an Uchiha, Kurinai complained. Well, those red eyes of your kind look like Sharingan, Anko noted, making Kurinai to frown. Don't give me that look. I'm just stating the facts. Anyway, what are you doing here? I thought I could take this guy alone, but I bit more than I could chew. Anko, do you know who is this man? Kurinai asked. Anko guessed by her tone that it was a rhetoric question. This is Zabuza Momochi, a missing nin from Kirigakure, and one of the infamous 7 swordsmen of the Mist. He attempted a coup d'etat against the Mizukage, but failed. Of course, he would be part of another coup. I see that you made your homework. Zabuza appeared to be flattered by Kurinai's knowledge of him. And yes, guess that I can't help but sympathize with fellow revolutionaries trying to bring down a corrupt government. But then again, the obscene amount of money the Uchihas paid me is a big incentive as well. Be careful, Anko, this guy is a jonin, and a strong one might I add. Plus, he isn't randomly attacking civilians or looting stores like other mercenaries the Uchiha hired. They placed him to guard an access to the part of the village where the Hokage Tower is. Then there's all the water around us that he can use to fuel his jutsus. Well, he certainly is as tough as he looks. Too bad your boyfriend isn't here. We could use a jonin right now. Kurinai suddenly turned red. What are you saying? Asuma is not my boyfriend. I never mentioned Asuma by name, did I? Anko asked with a sly grin, making Kurinai to blush even harder. But that's okay, because do you know what does this mean? Anko asked. The raven-haired kunoichi looked at her, dumbfounded. If we beat this guy, we may become jonin ourselves. Anko, the village is suffering one of its worst debacles since the 9 Tails, and you're thinking in promotions? Kurinai asked in disbelief. Anko shrugged. I'm an optimist person. Besides, Konoha survived the Kyubi attack. This is nothing in comparison. True, but back then we had the yellow flash. In that case, we'll have to fight extra hard to make up for it, Anko said as he adopted a fighting stance. Kurinai soon followed. So you're going to fight me then, Zabuza stated, as he eyed her opponents. I don't think you appear on my bingo book. I'm going to guess that you're both Chunin B rank at the most. I shouldn't have any problems killing you, even if it's 1-on-2. But then again, Zabuza said menacingly as he formed a hand seal with one hand. Why should I take the risk? Water release. Water clone jutsu. For blobs of water jumped from the river into the ground, and they took the shape of 4 Zabuzas, gigantic sword included. Now that's much better, Zabuza smiled under his mask. Shall we begin? The 4 clones charged forwards, 2 dashing towards Anko and the other 2 towards Kurinai. The red-eyed woman guessed that the clones were just a distraction to keep them busy, so the infamous swordsman could kill them from behind. Not if she had something to say about it. The black-haired kunoichi flied through hand seals, pulled 2 kunai, and fended off her attackers. As Zabuza watched the battle, he saw that the Kurinai was having the most trouble dealing with his clones. She'll be his first victim then. Making a hand seal, he used the body flicker to appear behind her and run his executioner blade through her body. Kurinai! Anko cried as she continued fighting the water clones. One down. Another one to her? Zabuza mentioned as he realized that the wound on Kurinai didn't leak any blood. Suddenly, Multiple snakes burst from Kurenai's wound and wrapped tightly around Zabuza. What the hell is this? Of course, an accursed genjutsu. Fighting the snakes off, Zabuza managed to bring his hands together and make a hand seal. Release! And after a burst of chakra, everything went back to normal. Zabuza hadn't moved from his original spot, but his clones were gone and his two female opponents were flanking him, each holding a kunai flying at his chest. In the last second, Zabuza managed to grab and stop both arms before being gutted alive. However, that left him unable to defend himself from Anko and Kurenai's kicks, which hurled him backwards. Ha! That got him good, Anko cheered. Too bad he saw through my genjutsu. 2 seconds later and he would be dead, Kurenai observed. Zabuza was started to get angry. How this two nobodies dared to make fun of him. His hands furiously flied through hand seals. I've wasted enough time with you two. Water release. Great crushing wave. A gigantic wall of water rose from the river and streamed down right on the terrified Kunoichi, loudly crashing on the ground, crushing the two women under tons of water. While Zabuza was sure that attack was enough to kill them, he swore that he heard a voice saying, "Summoning jutsu." And just like the water receded back into the river, he saw a giant snake coiled around something. The snake uncoiled itself, revealing Anko and Kurenai, completely wet but not particularly harmed. Snakes? Tell me, is any of you related to Orochimaru of the Sannin? The missing nin from Kiri asked. Anko's happy and battle-eager expression morphed into a mask of fury. Don't even dare to mention that name in my presence. Zabuza smirked under his mask. I guess I hit a nerve, didn't I? The snake appeared to react to Anko's anger and lunged at Zabuza, its jaws wide open. Zabuza leaped at the snake as well, raising his executioner's blade. The fight was short-lived, as Zabuza quickly delivered an horizontal chop, and the snake vanished in a pour of smoke. Kurenai ran through hand signs once more. Demonic illusion. World of decay. The moment Zabuza landed, he found he couldn't move his legs. Much to his horror, they were starting to melt as if they were an ice cream on a really warm day. After immediately realizing that he fell into another genjutsu, he made a hand seal before his hands would melt as well. Release! After quickly disturbing his chakra network, everything turned back to normal, and this time Anko and Kurenai were in front of him ready to attack him. He was completely sure they weren't part of a genjutsu. So why they didn't attack him while he was under Kurenai's genjutsu? The answer came in the form of killing intent coming from behind him. Zabuza quickly turned around and raised his sword, blocking the two katana strikes that would have sliced his back had he not reacted in time. The wielders of those katanas were a brown-haired man with a bandana on his head wearing the typical Konoha Chunin uniform, and a purple-haired woman wearing ANBU gear, minus the mask. After parrying the attack, Zabuza pushed them back. Hey look! The lovebirds decided to join the party, Anko noted as he waved at them. Hey Yugao! Hey, how was your anniversary date? Well, let's say that it was different from what I had in mind, Yugao bitterly answered. We had to go home and get changed since there's no way I could fight wearing a night dress. Isn't this guy Zabuza, the demon of the hidden mist? Height asked between coughs. Yeah, he's part of the Uchiha's mercenaries. Care to help us? Kurenai asked. Height and Yugao both raised their katanas. Sure, between the four of us shouldn't be a problem, the former noted. Do not mistake quantity with quality, twerp. Just like how 10 stupid men won't some a smart man, 10 weaklings won't some a strong warrior. You are all below me, Zabuza claimed in a grandiose manner. If you're so strong, why haven't you killed us yet? Kurenai and I have been fighting you for quite some time and here we are. The odds are even greater in our favor than before. Do everybody a favor and surrender already, Anko said. The demon of the hidden mist never surrenders, Zabuza yelled while making a hand seal. Let's see what good your superior numbers are against this hidden mist jutsu. Suddenly, a very thick mist covered the battlefield. Kurenai panicked. This was Zabuza's favorite tactic: blind their opponents and kill them silently afterwards. The demon of the hidden mist had decided to fight seriously. Oh man, this can't be good for my asthma. Hayate moaned to himself, coughing a bit. Then, he raised his sword and adopted a defensive stance. Yugao, track him. Yugao made a hand sign and closed her eyes. On it. Fortunately for the Konoha ninja, the purple-haired Kunoichi happened to be a censor. She had a hard time tracking Zabuza, since the mist was laced with his chakra. However, she quickly found that said chakra was much more concentrated at certain point. Kurenai, behind you. The raven-haired Kunoichi turned around and raised a kunai just in time to parry the blow aimed at her gut. The clang resulting of the metal clashing was enough to reveal Zabuza's position to Hayate. The only male Konoha Chunin leaped at Zabuza. Fire release, burning edge. The blade of Hayate's katana was wreathed in flames that dispelled the mist the moment it touched it, and found Zabuza in no time. Zabuza had to ignore Kurenai and fend off the swings of the ninja with the flaming sword. Unfortunately for him, he didn't realize Anko getting closer until it was too late. Hidden shadow snake hands. A snake emerged from Anko's sleeve and bit Zabuza in the neck. The snake's poison quickly paralyzed Zabuza until the Kiri missing Nin lost all control of his body and fell to the ground, motionless. The mist then disappeared. We did. We took Zabuza down. Kurenai cheered. Oh yes, I can feel that Jonin diploma in my hands. Go Team Estrogen. Anko cheered while pumped her fist. Hey, I help too. Hayata protested before going into a coughing fit. Go Team Estrogen plus Hayate. Yugao walked towards Zabuza's body and checked his vitals. He's still alive. Anko, was that poison you injected him lethal? Nope, just a paralytic toxin. He'll be cold for 2 days. I guess that maybe I could bring this guy to TNI and get some useful information out of his head. You don't capture every day a member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist. Well thought. We should hide his body while we finish off the remaining Uchiha and mercenaries. Understood. I know a place that HHH. Anko suddenly yelled as she fell on her knees and her hand reached the back of her neck. Anko! Kurenai quickly rushed to check her. What's going on? The cursed seal. It burns, Anko said, visibly in pain. Kurenai opened her eyes wide at the implications of such statement. That means. Why yes. That traitorous bastard is here. Senju residence. Tsunade Senju, you, your husband, and your adoptive son have been declared a threat to the village, and will have to come with us. If you resist arrest, we will dash. Boom. Arg. Excuse me? Were you saying something? Tsunade asked innocently. While Tsunade dealt with the 2 Jonin and 2 Chunin, now just 1, that were sent to capture her and Naruto, Shizun was tasked with keeping the children safe. Naruto and the twins watched how Shizun removed the carpet from the living room and made a hand seal. Suddenly, a trapdoor appeared all of a sudden. Shizun opened the trapdoor and motioned the kids to go inside. This is a shelter we built after Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama listened to a prophecy from one of the toads of Mount Mayaboku. Jiraiya-sama covered it with all kinds of protective seals, so it's pretty much impossible for anybody with the exception of Jiraiya-sama, Tsunade-sama, or myself to open it from the outside. The seals also make it impossible to find, even to those with a Byakugan or a Sharingan. The shelter has enough food and water to last a month for the 6 of us, so for you 3 it should last even more. It also has a bathroom. And this is important. No matter what you hear us say, even if no, especially if you hear us asking you to come out, don't come out. We will retrieve you once all this madness is over. Understood. Naruto nodded, the twins did the same. Now get in there, and don't be afraid. I promise everything will be fine, Shizen reassured, forcing herself to smile, unsure if that was a promise she could keep. Are you and Mom going to be okay? Shizen-nichan again asked. Of course, sweetie. Your mom is the strongest woman there is. Nobody can't hurt her, especially with me helping her. Yeah, Mom is like super strong. I trained with her and her strength knows no limits. The only ones who would come close to her are Dad and the Hokage, Naruto added. Shizen couldn't help but wonder if his optimism was genuine or if he was trying to calm down the twins. Either way, it was a good thing. Naruto-kun, you're the eldest, so you'll have to take care of your siblings while Tsunade-sama and I are busy. Understood? Naruto valiantly nodded before he and the twins headed to the underground shelter. Shizen then closed the trapdoor, made another hand seal, and the trapdoor disappeared once again. Lastly, she put the carpet back. Taking one last glance at the invisible shelter, and wondering if she'll live to see her almost little siblings again, Shizen rushed outside to assist her master and mother figure. Hokage's Tower. Fugaku Uchiha's 8-man squad broke into the entrance of the Hokage's workplace and residence, only to find it deserted. They moved towards the first floor, but it was just as empty. The second floor was devoid of any life as well. Fugaku smelled a trap. Kenichi, track the Hokage, now, the Uchiha clan head ordered. Yes, Fugaku-sama. Kenichi, the Uchiha censor, made a hand seal and closed his eyes. As his senses expanded, he didn't perceive anybody in the building until he reached the roof. Found him. He's standing in the roof. How many ANBUs has with him? Actually, none, Fugaku-sama. He appears to be alone. What? That can't be possible. It has to be some kind of trap. Unless the ANBU have a way to fool censors we're not aware of, the Hokage is alone in the roof. What are we going to do, Fugaku-sama? The old monkey was waiting for us. He evacuated the building and probably sent the ANBU to protect civilians or something like that. Anyway, that makes our job all the easier. Everybody to the roof. But don't let your guard down. It might be a trap. Yes, Fugaku-sama. All Uchihas replied in unison. Senju residence. With a neck snap, Tsunade killed the last of the Uchihas sent to attack her home. Tsunade had some minor bruises and burns, but there was nothing she could heal in a couple minutes. Shizen, go and fetch me a couple sealing scrolls now, Tsunade ordered. The black-haired Kunoichi nodded and headed back into the house, and in less than a minute she returned with the requested items. Tsunade started to store the dead Uchihas inside them, and instructed her apprentice to do the same. I know the body of a dead ninja is valuable, especially a dead Uchiha, but what do you plan to do with them, Tsunade-sama? Me? Nothing. The Hokage will decide what use should we give them. By the end of the night, there won't be a Hokage, nor a village anymore, said a voice seemingly out of nowhere. In front of the two medical nin, a masked man appeared coming out of a spiraling vortex. Tsunade immediately recognized the black cloak with the red clouds. Tsunade couldn't help but stare at the man's mask, or more specifically, at the single hole on it that revealed a Sharingan. Gamamaru's warning echoed through her head. Beware the one-eyed demon. You're an Akatsuki, Tsunade shouted at him. Oh? You hear about our organization? Guess that Konoha ninjas have done their homework. Not that it matters anyway, the masked man replied. What do you want? Shizen asked. To finish what I started 8 years ago, to reclaim what is rightfully mine, and use it to destroy Konoha. Wait a minute. Are you saying that you're the man responsible for the Kyubi attack? Tsunade asked in disbelief. That's exactly what I said. So, this is why the Uchiha are revolting? To get their hands on the Nine Tails? I can't believe that Danzo of all people was right. Oh no, you're horribly mistaken. I might be an Uchiha, but I stopped caring about the clan long time ago. The Uchihas are nothing but a disposable tool, mere pawns of a much grander plan. See, with this coup d'etat, the Uchiha and Konoha will destroy each other, while I take advantage of the ensuing chaos and get the Kyubi. Everybody wins. The blonde Sannin gritted her teeth. She was about to say something when the crystal on her necklace began to glow with a teal light. What the? Oh, how curious. I'm not into jewelry, but that's an interesting necklace you got there. I think I'll take it as well. But first, the Jinchuriki, the masked man said as he advanced towards the house. If you want Naruto, you'll have to go through me first, Tsunade stated defiantly as she planted herself in front of the man. Trust me, that won't be a problem. Tsunade snarled something unintelligible and threw a punch towards the masked man's face. But much to her surprise, her fist phased through his head as if the man was an illusion or mirage. What? Shizune shot several senbons from her wrist-mounted launcher, but they phased through him as well. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Don't waste your energies doing so. Or do it, it won't make a difference. Who are you? Asked Shizune. My name is irrelevant, but if you wish, you can call me Toby, Toby said as he entered in the house. I believe that the kid will be upstairs, right? Toby teleported to the upper floor and inspected the two bedrooms that looked like they belonged to a child, but he found nobody there. Annoyed, he proceeded to inspect the rest of the house, but there was no clue of him either. His Sharingan scanned every centimeter of the house, but didn't found any chakra signature on it. But deep down, he felt that the Jinchuriki was there, somewhere, hiding. Muttering a curse, Toby teleported outside, back with Tsunade and Shizune. Where is the Jinchuriki? Toby angrily demanded. His one eye flashed red. On a safe place far away from here, where neither you nor people like you will be able to touch him, Tsunade answered. Can't that fancy Sharingan track him? You lie, Toby bellowed. He's here. I can feel it. Even my eye can see him. Yes, I know he's really close, even if I can't reach him myself. And if I can't do that, well, maybe your screams will make him come out on his own. So, a scream contest, then? I have a feeling that it's you who's going to be the winner, Tsunade replied confidently as she cracked her knuckles. You have no idea what you're dealing with, Sannin, Toby said as he formed many hand seals. Would release, great spear tree. As the thick roots emerged from the ground and wrapped around Tsunade and Shizune almost forgot how to breathe. Shizune escaped using a body replacement, but Tsunade stayed there, motionless. You? How can you use my grandfather's? Tsunade asked in disbelief, unable to shake the shock. Was this stranger related to the Senju in some way? There was also the fact that her necklace reacted to him just like it did to her children. Like I told you, you know nothing about me or what can I do. That's why fighting me it's a fool's errand, Toby replied as he unsheathed his katana. Tsunade-sama, don't stay there. Move. We can wonder how he can use would release, but first we have to defeat him, Shizune yelled. Toby lunged at her, his katana aiming forwards. Now perish. Shizune's words managed to snap Tsunade out of her trance, and making use of her famous chakra-enhanced strength, she broke free from her binds. Toby stopped in the last second, and jumped backwards to avoid any possible counterattack. Sorry about that, Shizune. Please understand it was quite the shock. But I'm better now, Tsunade assured as she calmly removed her green Haori. Let's crush this guy. Right? Shizun chimed as she pulled out 3 senbons and tossed them at Toby. However, much to her shock, the senbons phased through the masked man. What? The second after Shizun threw her senbons, Tsunade had dashed towards Toby, who made no effort to dodge, and launched her fist at him. But just like Shizun's needles, Tsunade's fist phased through his face. What is this? A genjutsu? Toby smirked under his mask. Just like that Hyuga said. And just like him, you're going to find how wrong you are? The masked man said before quickly punching Tsunade on her gut, leaving her breathless, followed by a kick to he faced the moment she unwittingly bent over. Does that feel like a genjutsu? Shizun threw more senbons at him, but the result was the same. You already did that before? Did you really expect a different result now? Alright, this is something your fancy intangibility won't protect you from, Shizun said as he leaped above him. Poison mist. Shizun's cheeks puffed out and released a stream of purple mist from her mouth that engulfed the masked man. However, Toby flew out of the poisonous cloud like a missile and unsheathed his katana again. I think I'll get rid of you first, Toby declared as he prepared to deliver an diagonal slash. Fortunately for Shizun, the attack never came as Tsunade managed to grab Toby's ankle and slam him overhead into the ground multiple times, until his ankle slipped through Tsunade's hands and quickly crawled away from the slug princess. Shizun then landed beside Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, you touched him, Shizun squealed in joy. I did more than just touch him, Tsunade said with a confident smirk. You can turn intangible at will, but in order to harm us, you have to turn corporeal, right? And that's the case, it's just a matter of timing our attacks. You're one clever bitch. Toby painfully got back on his feet. But this changes nothing. That was a mere lapse of judgment on my part. You won't touch me again. I must admit that you're way tough if you can still stand such a beating. Most people wouldn't be able to even move after that. I think I already stated that I'm not like everybody else. Now let's see how much pain can you withstand until you reveal to me the location of the Jinchuriki. Toby threatened as he disappeared in a swirling vortex. Shizun, stay alert, Tsunade warned. Her apprentice nodded. It didn't take long for Toby to reveal himself. Would release, great spear tree. Once again, multiple tree roots emerged from the ground and tried to either restrain or impale the 2 kunoichi. Tsunade shattered them with her enhanced punches, while Shizun tossed poison senbons that made the roots to wither and rot in a matter of seconds. However, that attack was just a diversion. While Shizun was busy dealing with the roots, Toby appeared from behind and wrapped an arm around her neck. This charade ends here. Now, Tsunade, tell me where you're hiding the Jinchuriki, or this woman dies, Toby declared, his voice regaining some of its previous calmness. Tsunade-sama, don't do it, Shizun pleaded. He's tangible now. Now is the chance to attack. I wouldn't do it if I was you. Do you think I can't kill this woman and then use my ability to avoid your attacks? Toby asked. Tsunade remained there, hesitant. Running out of patience, Toby made his decision. I see. Say goodbye to this woman then. The blade of Toby's katana burst through Shizun's chest. The black-haired kunoichi let out a gasp of pain. No. Tsunade threw her hands over her mouth. See? This is what happens when you oppose somebody you can't hope to defeat. Now Toby was interrupted by Shizun bursting into a cloud of purple fog. What? Toby jumped back in an attempt to avoid the poisonous mist, but he accidentally breathed some of it. Poison clone. Clever, right? The real Shizun then appeared behind Toby. What? You made a clone? I never took my eye from you too. How did you evade my Sharingan? Toby protested between coughs. To answer your question, I did it while you were inspecting our house. Wait. I've been fighting a clone the whole time? Toby's disbelief grew by the moment, as so did his coughing. You landed a few hits on Tsunade-sama, but none of my clone. My clones can last hours if they don't receive any damage. And judging by your coughs, I guess that mask of yours doesn't filter poisonous gases. What you inhaled is a fast-acting poison that will rot your lungs until you can't breathe anymore. You are already death. Don't be so overconfident, Toby yelled before going into another coughing fit. There's no poison that can kill this body. Yes, I believe that you somehow spliced your genes with those of my grandfather, who had great resistance to poisons, hence your ability to use would release. But even then that doesn't make you immune to them. Tsunade smirked at him. Let's see how well you can fight when you can hardly breathe. Both Tsunade and Shizun lunged at the masked man. Tsunade threw a kick at his face, followed by Shizun, who had kunais on her hands. Both their attacks phased through Toby. The Akatsuki member tried to slash Tsunade, but his swing was way sloppier than before and Tsunade had no trouble dodging it. Shizun threw more senbons at him from her wrist-mounted launcher, which Toby dodged by jumping backwards. Your breathing is becoming heavier. Even if you somehow survive Shizun's poison, you won't survive my fists. Shut up, Toby angrily yelled as his hands flew through hand seals. Would release, great spear tree. More roots emerged from the ground and lunged at Tsunade. The slug princess smirked once again and raised a foot. Heavenly foot of pain. Tsunade brought her foot down with such force that the ensuing shockwave shattered the wooden roots, leaving a crater behind. And you might have my grandfather's bloodline limit, but yours is nowhere near his level. Both Tsunade and Shizun leaped at Toby at the same time from opposite directions. The masked man disappeared once again in a swirling vortex. All right, another ambush. Good, he's growing desperate. Come on, coward. Show yourself, Shizun shouted. As you wish, Toby said as he appeared right behind Tsunade. The blonde Sannin immediately turned around and punched the masked man, who shattered into thousands of wood shards. A wood clone? Suddenly, a blade burst through Tsunade's belly. Blood started to leak from it. Shizun's eyes grew wide with shock.
Tsunade-sama.
Shizun yelled in horror. I believe that you're not a clone, right, bitch? Toby hatefully said as he pulled his sword out and kicked Tsunade in the back, making the Sannin to fall on her face. Toby's hands then flew through hand seals. Fire release dash. However, a rather severe coughing fit stopped him from completing the attack. Knowing that this was her only chance, Tsunade gathered all the chakra she could muster on her fist, turned around and delivered a devastating punch at Toby. The Akatsuki had no time to turn intangible, and Tsunade's fist landed on his right shoulder, shattering it completely, cutting the right arm from the rest of his body, and hurling him towards a wall. Ugh, hi! Toby moaned, as he got on his feet as good as he could. That certainly hurt. How are you still live? Tsunade asked. I could ask the same thing to you. Surrender, you monster. Tsunade-sama got you good. Between that hit and my poison, there's no way you can win, Shizun cried. Maybe you're right, but mark my words. Sooner or later, the Kyubi will be mine, and this world of despair and lies will disappear, Toby said as he disappeared in a swirling vortex. Tsunade coughed blood. Shizun quickly rushed towards her master's side and checked the wound on her belly, poured large amounts of blood. All right, Shizun. You know what to do. Yes. First, stop the hemorrhage. Shizun reminded herself as she used the mystical palm jutsu on Tsunade's wound, closing it slowly. I guess it's a good thing I got over my fear of blood, Tsunade weakly joked. Tsunade-sama, don't speak. Don't tell me what to do. You didn't lose your temper. Guess that's a good thing. But seriously, don't talk. Still, Tsunade decided to follow Shizen's advice and didn't waste the little energy she had left on talking. While her apprentice brought her from near death, she couldn't help but wonder about that mysterious one-eyed man. Then she remembered what Jiraiya had told her about his long-term mission regarding the Akatsuki and the Kyubi attack. Orochimaru and this man, Tobi, were both part of the same organization, Akatsuki, who apparently wanted the Kyubi and other tailed beasts for whatever nefarious purposes. Orochimaru had experimented with Hashirama's cells in order to obtain his power, and Tobi was clearly one of his test subjects. And while Tobi could use would release, the scale and power of his jutsus were nowhere near the level of the first Hokage. But even then, it was a terrifying thought. What if Orochimaru was able to perfect the genetic splicing? The thought of Orochimaru with Hashirama's power was worrying, but an army, hell, even a small group with that power was a nightmare come true. Lastly, she also wished she could warn everybody about Akatsuki manipulating the Uchiha and stop this madness before more people could die. But she knew it was too late. Even if she wasn't so badly wounded, there was no way she could stop the coup. All she could do was pray for this to end as soon as possible with the least amount of casualties. Inabi Uchiha and his teammates Yashiro and Tekka were at the roof of the Jonin Stanby station. Multiple Konoha ninja had attempted to reclaim the building, but the Uchiha trio managed to fend off the attackers. The last attack had been more than an hour ago, to which Inabi deduced that Konoha gave up trying to take back the station. "You know, this is kind of boring," Yashiro mentioned. "This place is safe. Can we go somewhere else?" "You heard Fugaka-sama. We were assigned to take and guard this place. Fugaka-sama will flay us alive if we disobey his orders," Tekka replied. "I'm afraid I have to agree with Tekka, as much as I'd love to continue fighting," Inabi said. "Man, this was too easy. Maybe we shouldn't have been so cautious and wait until most of the Jonin were away." "Well, nothing can compare to might of the Uchiha. I wish I was assigned to Masaki's team. They got to fight Tsunade. They will be the only ones who will fight against somebody who's actually strong," Yashiro moaned. "Besides Fugaka-sama, Suddenly, all of their radios started to crackle loudly. Inabi grabbed his. "This is Inabi Uchiha. Who is this?" "This is Naoki Uchiha requesting reinforcements. That traitor Itachi appeared and slaughtered my unit." "Naoki, calm down and tell us your position so we can assist you." Arch. "Naoki? Naoki?" Inabi frantically shouted, clutching the radio on his hand. "Damn it! I knew Fugaka-sama should have thrown that spoiled brat of his into a cell. Itachi is there, and apparently decided to hunt us. What are we going to do?" Yashiro asked. "It isn't obvious? Hunt him first before he can do any more damage." "What about Fugaku-sama's orders?" Tekka asked. "This is more important. If some Konoha ninja take this building while we're absent, we can retake it later. Now come on. Naoki's team was supposed to guard the hospital, so if we are fast we might catch Itachi before he leaves the place." "Oh, you're leaving already? Sorry, but I don't think that such thing is going to happen," a cold yet soft voice said behind them. The Uchiha trio turned around and saw an extremely pale man with long black hair and yellow eyes, wearing a black cloak with red clouds on it. "Orochimaru?" Inabi asked in shock. "Is he back in the village too?" asked Tekka. "Why is he dressed like Madara-sama?" Yashiro asked as well. "Madara? That's what he told you?" "Kukuku. This kid certainly had some delusions of grandeur," Orochimaru said, chuckling. "What are you doing here? Are you part of Madara-sama's army of mercenaries? I know for a fact that you're not an ally of Konoha," Inabi said. "True, but being the enemy of your enemies does not make me your friend, as you're about to find. But anyway, you should feel honored, You three had been selected to take part in an experiment in order to further my ninjutsu research. Are you going to come with me willingly, or do I have to take you by force? Yashiro, Tekka, we'll have to deal with this lunatic first before we can go to look for Itachi, Inabi declared. His two partners nodded. It seems that we're going to have a worthy opponent after all, Yashiro agreed with a glee. By force, then? This should be fun. Orochimaru's mouth forming an ugly smile. Activating their Sharingan, the Uchiha trio dashed at Orochimaru. Yashiro and Tekka impaled Orochimaru with their katanas from opposing angles, while Inabi jumped over him while making hand seals. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. The other two Uchihas jumped sideways before the fireball hit its target and engulfed Orochimaru in flames. So much for the legendary Sannin, Inabi said dismissively. However, when the flames started to disappear, they saw a half-melted mud clone in Orochimaru's place. When the Uchiha trio realized that they have been fooled, it was too late. 3 snakes wrapped tightly around their necks, rising them in mid-air. A nice display indeed, the real Orochimaru praised. Somehow behind them, the 3 snakes holding the Uchihas were coming from one of his sleeves. You're young, strong, and with a mature Sharingan. Yes, you will be perfect. The snakes bit their victims in their necks, knocking them out cold, before dropping them into the ground and returned from whence they came. Orochimaru then bit his finger and made 5 hand seals. Summong Jutsu. From a cloud of smoke, a gigantic light gray snake appeared. Orochimaru then snapped his fingers, and 3 ninjas wearing gray camouflage outfits, balaclavas and forehead protectors with a quiver on them appeared before him. Take these bodies to the meeting point. Make sure they suffer no harm. I don't think that you will have much trouble with all the battles going on, but just in case I'll send Hiboroshi with you as an escort. Yes, Orochimaru-sama, the 3 ninjas replied in unison before carrying the bodies on their backs, and jumped away. The giant snake followed them. The snake Sannin was about to leave, but sensing a certain presence coming closer made him stay and wait. After 10 minutes, the presence landed in front of him. It was a woman with spiky dull purple hair. Orochimaru, should have guessed that you'll be among the scum the Uchiha had brought with them. Nice to see you again after so much time, Anko-chan. Orochimaru greeted her with a sinister grin. Though you're awfully mistaken, I'm not part of this sad attempt of a coup. In fact, I was about to leave before you ran into me. Like hell I'm going to let you leave, Anko shouted angrily, pulling out a kunai. Please, Anko-chan, save yourself the embarrassment. Do you think you can defeat me alone? What make you think I'm alone? As on cue, Kurenai, Yugao and Hayate appeared all around him. I see you brought some friends with you. That's intelligent but still futile. The result will be the same. Shut up, Anko yelled as she dashed at Orochimaru and sunk the kunai on his neck. However, the moment he did so, Orochimaru turned into mud and started to melt. It was a clone? Damn it. Meanwhile, at the other side of the village, Fugaku Uchiha and his elite team climbed the Hokage's tower until they reached the roof. Just like their censor had said, the Hokage stood there, completely alone, contemplating the village flooded by chaos and destruction. Enjoying the spectacle, Hokage-sama? Fugaku asked the old man. Sarutobi turned around to face him. Ah, Fugaku-san, I was waiting for you. You brought quite the group with you. You can't expect to take down a Hokage by doing a half-assed job. These men are the best the Uchiha clan can offer. The best, you say? Sarutobi asked, tilting his head as he studied Fugaku's team. Then why didn't you bring young Itachi with you? I believe he's quite the prodigy. Fugaku gritted his teeth upon hearing the name of his disgraced son, but decided not to take the bait. He needed to remain focused in order to finish the job. If you were expecting us, then you know what I came for. Are you going to fight, surrender, or are you going to try to talk me down? Try to avoid the latter option if possible. I'm not in the mood for lectures. I think you're old enough to be lectured, Fugaku-san. So I will simply ask you a question. Why? Why are you doing all of this? Do you want to be Hokage that much? Do not play dumb with me, Hiruzen, Fugaku replied, pointing an accusatory finger at the old Hokage. You might be old, but I know that you're far from being senile. You know perfectly why I'm doing this. I'm afraid I'm not. So please enlighten me, before more blood is spilled this night. Upon seeing Fugaku's frown, he added, I can assure you that this is not a ruse to buy time for whatever I had planned. I knew you were coming here since more than an hour ago. Had I planned a trap, it would already sprung. If that's true, then you're an idiot for not doing so. Yes, I've been calling that before. I believe the words Danzo used was idealistic fool. But guess that's something I can't change about me. The reason I didn't prepare a trap was because I do want to end this in a peaceful way. Fine, have it your way, Fugaku scoffed. The reason we're doing this is that we're tired. Tired of living isolated from the rest of the village. Tired from being barred from any position of power. Tired of being Konoha's attack dogs. Being kept in cages when you aren't throwing us at your enemies, and always held by a leash. But that's going to end now. These dogs are cutting their leashes and breaking their cages' bars. The Sharingan is not your little weapon to play with. The Senju wanted our power but never wanted us, and made sure that we stayed loyal but were never a threat. And when they were gone, they made sure that things would never change. You are the pupil of the first two Hokages, and the fourth was a student of one of your students. A cleverly crafted system that ensures that only those indoctrinated in the ideas of the Senju access to positions of power just like yours, to keep the status quo and stop any change from happening, regardless of how necessary they are. That's a lie and you know it, Sarutobi angrily replied, though deep down he had to admit that Fugaku had a point. In a few years, your eldest son would have made a fine fifth. He has both the power and the wisdom to be worthy of the title. Fugaku snorted dismissively. Too late for that, Hiruzen. I wouldn't believe that even if I didn't know of your little plan. Little plan? What are you talking about? The Kyubi brat, who bears a more than striking resemblance to the fourth, who's being raised by two of your students, one who happens to be the granddaughter of Hashirama and the other who was the master of the fourth. And here's the best part. How that little boy boasts nonstop that he's going to be Hokage. Sure, kids his age have unrealistic ambitions, but that boy sounds so sure that he's going to be Hokage, as if somebody already promised him such position. Tell me, Herzuin, who could have put that idea into his young innocent mind? But it's not a matter of just being Hokage. Even if my son or any of my clansmen became Hokage, he would just be a figurehead or a puppet, keeping the seat warm until the real candidate became old enough to take the hat, while you and your little friends run everything from the shadows. But that's not going to happen. This village is rightfully ours, and we will take it back. Fugaku-san, please think about this. Even if you managed to kill me and my counselors and became the new rulers of Konoha, nobody would accept you, especially those who lost loved ones during your coup. Konoha would get plunged into a civil war, like it's happening with Kirigakure right now. But unlike Kirigakure, we don't have a sea or other natural defenses to stop other villages from invading us. The people of Konoha fear our power, so we will give them good reasons to fear us. Fear will keep the population from rebelling. Those who rule by fear are bigger fools than the hopeless idealists like me. Those who live under fear can't wait to throw away that yoke. I've heard enough, Fugaku abruptly said. The dynasty of the Senju and those indoctrinated by them ends tonight. You can surrender and live a few more years, or you can fight us, die, and delay the inevitable for a little time. Sarutobi's mouth curved into a sad smile. In a swift movement, he tossed away his hat and robes, revealing a battle armor underneath them. I think you should know what my answer was going to be. Sarutobi adopted a fighting stance. Every Uchiha minus Fugaku did likewise. If you plan to fight us, then why did you send your ANBU away? With them at your side, you might had some chances of surviving. The ANBU are helping people that needs their aid more than this old but far from defenseless man. A good Hokage puts the good of the village above his own. If you and your clansmen knew that, maybe one of you would have become Hokage. Make no mistake, Hiruzen. I'm not Orochimaru. I'm making this for the good of my clan, not for any sense of personal ambition. Fugaku spat as he unsheathed his katana. Everybody, ready to attack. Tonight the crows will feast on the flesh of a Hokage. Either you kill me or not, Fugusan, you will regret this decision.
That's it for today. Remember to show your support to the creator of this story if you enjoyed it. If you would like more parts of the story to be uploaded, leave a comment and subscribe to get notified when the story continues. Bye-bye for now, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day.